Today we are catching up fully to where we are supposed to be, which is the end of Tesvav Amud Beis, and the Gemara is going to be discussing on Tesvav Amud Aleph and then Amud Beis a number of agaritas, primarily agaritas related to tzedakah and people involved in the giving of tzedakah and the work in the Beis Hamikdash, and then by the time we get to the sixth parak, we're going to be talking about the placement of the Aron. Where did the Aron go to? But we left off at the bottom of Yud Daled Amud Beis, where the Mishnah had spoken about the different chosamas, the different tickets that you would get in the Beis Hamikdash when you were coming to bring a korban. And we had noted in the Mishnah that there are a number of different tickets. We saw that there is a machlokas whether there are 4 or 5. The Mishnah, the Tanna Kama tells us that there are 4, which is a egel, a zachar, a gedi, and a chayta. And Ben Azai says there is also a chayta is split into a rich chayta and a poor chayta. Says the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom of Yud Daled Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, Uchaben Azai chayta dal lama. Why does Ben Azai add a token, a ticket, for the chayte dal, for a poor chayte? Says the Gemara, maybe logo imoy, because according to Ben Azai, the mitzorah, that's the chayte, would bring an additional log of oil that he needed to be put on boyin yada and boyin ragla, his the earlobes and his thumbs. He needed to bring that. He brought that from home. But according to the Rabbanan, he would just use a gedi token, and that would he would bring the gedi token to Achia, and Achia would then give him 3 log of oil. What about the 4th log of oil that he would need in addition to that? So that he brought from home, that he would bring from home. He didn't get a token for that. Says the Gemara, Nichsei Rachel. The Mishnah told us that there's a gedi. There's chosamas, different kinds of korbanos that have different nesachim. So there was an egel, a zachar, and a gedi. Those were the 3. But what about a rachel? Means a young sheep. What exactly would be the nesachim for? Sorry, a rachel meaning an adult sheep. What would the nesachim be for that? The pasuk doesn't tell you. Says the Gemara as follows: Nische Rachel ma. Says the Gemara, min madetanin. From that we have seen in our Mishnah, Gedi mishamesh niske tzon gedol muktanim zucharim and kevas. A gedi, the ticket that you got for a goat, so that was the same, regardless of whether it was male or female or big or small. Hada amri, and then what we are learning from this is niske rachel ke niske gedi, that a rachel will be the same as a gedi, meaning a adult sheep and an adult goat get the same nesachim. The pasuk says, "Kacha ye'aseh l'shar ha'echad oy la'ayil ha'echad oy l'seh bakvasim oy ba'izim." So we're going to dissect this pasuk step by step. First step in the pasuk, l'shar ha'echad. When the pasuk says for one bull, l'shar ha'echad, why does it say lama nemar? Why do you need l'shar ha'echad? Just say l'shar. What is l'shar ha'echad? Magid sheloy chilek bein niske egel and niske shar. That tells you that there is no difference. Shar is one species. It doesn't make a difference whether it is an egel, a calf, or a shar, or a adult, or a bull. Doesn't make a difference. They get the same nesachim, the same amount of additional pieces, meaning oil and wine, etc. Shahaya badin, because otherwise you would have said the opposite. Why does the Torah have to say Shar ha'echad? Because there's a precedent to say that there's a difference. Ben hatzon ton nesachim, ben habakar ton nesachim. We know that a child of tzon, right, meaning a little sheep needs nesachim, and a little cattle, little ox, also needs nesachim. But we see that the Torah does differentiate between a keves and an ayil, meaning between a ram and a lamb, which are the same variety of animal. Turning over to Tesvav and Aleph. We should also differentiate between a lamb and between a calf and a cow, meaning between a calf and a bull. Talmud Lemer, therefore the pasuk tells you that when it comes to cattle, there is only one standard for nesachim. We don't differentiate between young and old. Magid shalechilik ben niske egel and niske shar. Then the pasuk says, why does the pasuk say or for a ram? Why does it say or for a ram? Shahaya badin, because the halacha is that ben niske ben shana niske ben shnasayim. We know that there is a difference between a 1-year-old lamb and a 2-year-old ram. That we have already. Maybe you would have thought that there would also be a differentiation, meaning as a animal gets older, there's more nesachim that you have to bring with it, with regards to a lamb to a ram. So maybe a 3-year-old animal would require even more. Talmud Loma, therefore the pasuk says, Ola ayil ha'echad. Then the Torah says to you, Ola ayil ha'echad, only for one. Meaning there's a one standard for all a limb. Meaning for all rams, there is one standard. It doesn't go up sequentially or gradated by age. Once you have crossed the threshold into ayil from keves, then you get the nesachim of an ayil, no matter how old it is, as long as it's still young enough to be in the mizbech. Oila se bak vasim. So what does it mean? A sheep, bak vasim, amongst the sheep. Se meaning a kid sheep. Amongst the flock. Lama nemar. Why does the pasuk add in that clause? Shayabadin, because it would be logical. We know that there is a difference between the nesachim of a keves, of a male lamb, and an ayil, a male ram. Therefore, we should differentiate logically between a kivsa, a female lamb, and niske Rachel, and a female lamb. Talmud Lemon, the pasuk says, to tell you that they are considered the same. That regardless of their age, if it's a female lamb or an older, that's an ewe, right? Doesn't make a difference. They would all be included as the same nesachim. Oy ba'izim lamali. So now we get to goats. Why does the Torah say oy ba'izim? Why is that clause added as well? Shaya badin, because logically you would have said if we are differentiating between sheep and a ram. We should also distinguish between the nesachim of a male kid and a male he goat. That's a taish. That should be different as well. Talmud Lemon, the pasuk says, "Oy ba'izim," to tell you that they are included as well. Hikish katan sheba'izim legadol shebetiyashim. That we are comparing small goats with big goats. Ma'azeh b'shloishes lugin, avzeh b'shloishes lugin, and all of these they get 3 lugin without differentiating. And then the Mishnah told us that on each of the tokens there was the name of the day that was written, meaning Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, was written on the token so that nobody that picked up a random token could come and claim that they were owed money from the Beis HaMikdash. Says the Gemara, yeah, but hold up. Worry about this, concern yourself about this. He could match up the days, meaning he could just take a token from Sunday to next Sunday. The big deal that you wrote the day, so he's not going to come on Monday for it, but he could come the next Sunday. He's still from the Beis HaMikdash next week. It says the Gemara, no, Hashem Mishmar Haya Kasavala, that they were Mishmaras. The name of the Mishmar of the group of Kohanim that was in charge that week was also written on it. So it was like Sunday of Cohen family, and then the next week where it was Sunday of Katz family. So it was a different family, and to that end, it would be very difficult to forge that. Says the Gemara, okay, so come back next year. The Sunday of that group next year, you could do that. Says the Gemara, no, because Shem Hayem, Shem Shabbos, Shem Chodesh, they put the day of the week. They also put the day of the week. The day of the week. They put 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 the day of the we which week it was, meaning what week of the year, which number week, and what month was they were in. All of that was there, meaning they would date it with multiple identifying marks. Says the Gemara, I feel and if you want to wait like another 2 decades until it rolls out to be perfectly aligned, again, we're not so worried about that, meaning that a guy's going to randomly find something and then figure out the next time that such a thing is going to roll around. Very far-fetched to imagine that kind of thing is going to happen again. I suppose we could also add that in the days of the Mishnah, we're still talking about a time period where they were still doing Kiddush HaChodesh al pi Re'iyah, that they were still figuring out when the next month was going to be based on Eidos. So there was no set calendar. You wouldn't be able to figure out like, if I come back, I'll put this farthest away for 19 and a half years time. I'll come back and I'll be able to do it. There was no predictability to the calendar as to days of the week and months of the year, because Rosh Chodesh could be declared on any of 2 days perpetually. Says the Mishnah, Halacha Daled, Shtei Lishkos Hayu b'Mikdash. There were two lishkos, two chambers that were in the Beis HaMikdash. Achas Lishkos Chashayim, Achas Lishkas Kelim. One was called the Lishkas Chashayim, one was the silent lishka, and one was the utensils lishka. What exactly is the silent lishka? Lishkas Chashayim Yiri Chet Noisin Mesech b'Chashay, V'anim b'nei Tovim Misparnasim Mesech b'Chashay. The silent lishka was one where God-fearing people would give money for tzedakah quietly, in secret, and then poor people that used to be from rich families would be able to go and take tzedakah from there quietly, and nobody would know who had given and who was taking, and that way the whole thing was tzedakah anonymously. Lishkas HaKelim, what about the lishka of the vessels? Kol mi shayim misnadev kli. Anybody that wanted to donate a vessel to the Beis HaMikdash, Zor Kol Oseicha would deposit it there. And every 30 days they would open up. And any kli that was needed for the Beis HaMikdash, for upkeep of the Beis HaMikdash, they would leave it there. And the rest of them, and the rest that were not necessary, the Beis HaMikdash were like, we don't need your toaster. They would sell it and they would use that money for Bedek HaBais. Now the Gemara is going to tell us a number of stories about people that would give tzedakah quietly. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachman haven't parnasim. These two individuals were parnasim, meaning they took care of the needs of the community. V'haven yavan Rabbi Chama avui de Rabbi Yehoshia dinar v'hu yahiv le chornin. They would give to Rabbi Yehoshia, they would give a dinar, and he would give that out to other people that were in need of it, meaning that there was somebody in between, that they didn't know who the tzedakah was being given to, and the recipients didn't know who had donated it, which the Rambam writes is the highest level of tzedakah, just one step below giving somebody a parnasa. But if you're handing out money, that would be the correct way to do it. The Gemara tells another story of the same ilk. Rabbi Zechariah Chasni de Rabbi Levi have hakol melisin alav. There was an individual called Rabbi Zechariah that everybody would make fun of him. I'm reading, they said, he doesn't need tzedakah. Why is he taking tzedakah? Meaning he would take tzedakah. He would go himself. He would say, I need. And he would take. But when he left this world, they found out that he had never kept a cent of it. He had always distributed it to other people. He took the hit of taking tzedakah so that he could distribute it without other people having to disgrace themselves by asking for tzedakah. Says the Gemara, Rav Chinna bar Papa have a maflig mitzvah belelia. Rav Chinna bar Papa would distribute tzedakah at night. Chad zman pagabe Ravan de Ruchia. He once met some demon, some evil spirit that was in charge of evil spirits. Amarle says, Loikein alfan Rav. Didn't you teach? Didn't you learn? Don't encroach on your neighbor's property. Meaning, nighttime is my time to be around to mess around with people's lives. What are you doing up at night? Amalei says that giving tzedakah, giving in secret, diminishes or extinguishes anger. And this demon, this spirit ran away from him. Meaning he was afraid of him and he ran away from him. Meaning he He was able to overcome the negativity of being running around at night by knowing that what he was doing was the correct thing. Amar Rabbi Yonah, says Rabbi Yonah, Asher Noisen Ladal, Asher Noisen Ladal, in Ksiv Kan. The pasuk does not say happy is one that gives to a poor person. Rather, the pasuk says Ashrei Maskil El Dal. Happy is a person, praiseworthy is a person that considers what is necessary for poor people. Meaning, it's not just about giving; it's about thinking about what they need. So this is somebody who contemplates what's the best way to do the mitzvah. Kate said, "Hiya, Rabbi Yonah Osek Shayiroya Ani Ben Tovim." When Rabbi Yonah would see a poor person that used to be a rich person, came from Ben Tovim, came from rich stock, that he was now fell on hard times. What would he do in order to not embarrass him? He lost his fortune. Haya Omer would say to him, "Bini, my son, I just recently heard that you have come into a significant amount of money, meaning that you've inherited something. Take this, and then you'll pay back when you find when you find your inheritance." And then once the guy had taken it, he said to him, "Matana hilach, it's a gift." Meaning, he knew that he would never take it from him, so he would say, I just heard that you made some money. He would say, really? He would say, yeah, absolutely, take this and you'll pay me back later. And then once he had taken it, he would say to him, by the way, it's yours. Chir Bar Ada speaks now about a different kind of, the other side of the coin, I suppose, pun intended. Is Yominon. They were old people in our days, he says. Man dahava hiv lehoin mibin reish shasal letzuma rabba. If you would give them anything between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, you give them tzedakah between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, have an asfin. They accepted it. Min basar kain. After that, lo have an asfin. They didn't accept tzedakah from you. Amrin, they said, the shasan gaban. This year has already been decreed, meaning whatever we were supposed to get last year, we've been decreed that. If we didn't have parnasa until Yom Kippur. But once Yom Kippur comes, there's a new gzer in Shemaim. I don't need to take your money. Maybe I don't need it. Maybe I don't need it. There's a new gzer in Shemaim. This is an important marimakam for when HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides your fate. Meaning, when we say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides your parnasa, Rosh Hashanah, it really means Yom Kippur to Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah means the beginning of the year, not the day Rosh Hashanah. And that's an important marimakam. This comes up in the Ramban and Shar HaGmul, trying to figure out exactly when the din of Rosh Hashanah begins and ends. Says the Gemara, Nehemiah ish sichin. This is Nehemiah ish sichin. Nehemiah, not Nechunya, but Nehemiah, who was also a well digger. Pagaba Yerushalmi Echad, he met a certain Yerushalmi. Amarle, so he said to him, Zacha imi chadat harnagalasa. Give me a chicken. Can you sustain me with a chicken? Amarle, he said, Halach tumte de kupet. Yeah, I'll give you enough money to buy meat. Meaning meat apparently was cheaper than chickens. So he gave him meat, v'zavin kupet, and he bought meat, v'achav mais, and he ate it and he died. Meaning he couldn't handle eating the meat. Chicken was much healthier for him, and he took the money and he bought this food and he died. And this Nehemiah cried out. He said, "Bo v'softu lahargash Nehemiah. Come and eulogize the person that Nehemiah killed. He held himself responsible because he was like, you don't need such expensive food. I'll give you cheap food." And the guy died from the cheap food. Nehemiah held himself responsible for that. Once happened that Nachum Ish Gamzu was taking something to his father-in-law's house, and a certain person that was muka shchin, somebody that had a terrible skin condition, terrible boils. So he came to him, Amarle, so he says, Zacha imi mimadi iskabach, can you help me? Can you sustain me? Give me some food with whatever you had. Amarle, so he says, Mechsar chaser, Mechsar, when I come back, I'm on my way to my father-in-law, on my way home tomorrow, I'll give you. So Chazar, he came back and saw that he had died. V'hava amar le kiblei, and he said, looking at this dead man, he says, "Enya de chaminach v'loy yispun lach yistamyan." The eyes that saw you and didn't take pity on you, didn't provide for you, should become blinded. He cursed himself. Yadei delay pashtan misan lach is katun. the hands that didn't hand you anything should be cut off. The legs that didn't run to help you should become broken. Umasiken, and all three of these curses happened to him. All of these things happened to him. You see the tremendous sense of accountability and responsibility that Nachum Ish Gamzu felt over the death of this individual. That he said that Min Hashamayim, I am chayiv on all of these things, that I didn't take proper care for you. My eyes, my hands, and my feet should all be taken from me. Salak legabi Rabbi Kiva came to visit her. Amarle, so he said to him, Nachum Ish Gamzu said to him, Ilisha ani roye oisa bekach. Rabbi Akiva says to him, how tragic it is for me that I see you in such a state. Amarle, he says to him, Ilisha eina ani roye oischa bekach. Woe to me that I don't see you like this. Meaning that what's going to happen to you is going to be far worse than this, because you're not mekabel for whatever you need to accept responsibility. Amarle, so he says, Ma'ata mekalalani. Why are you cursing me like this? Amarle, so he said to him, Nachum Ish Gamzu says to him, Uma'at mevayt b'yisurim. Why do you kick your yisurim? Meaning you should welcome your yisurim. We see that in the Gemara in Maseches Brachos. They asked at the beginning of Brachos, they say Chavivin lech and yisurim, and everybody in Brachos says, I don't want them and not their rewards. You see, Nachum Ish Gamzu was on a different madrega. He said, I want the yisurim, bring them on. He invites them on himself, and he gives Rabbi Akiva Musar that Rabbi Akiva didn't want to accept. We know at the end of his life, Rabbi Akiva absolutely does accept his Yisurim. But at this point in time, he wasn't there. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shaya Rabbe, have a Rabbi de Barte, de Bre, Sagi Nahara. Rabbi Shaya was the Rebbe of a certain kid whose father was blind, meaning his Rabbi Hoshaya's employer was blind. But and Rabbi Shaya was ate with him every day, meaning he sat with him. He sat with him. They had lunch together every day. Chad Zman Havale Orchin. One time they had guests. And Rabbi Shaya didn't come to the blind man's table. Beramsha Salak Lagabe, and the next night. Rabbi Hoshai went back to him to apologize. Amarle, so he says, Lo yichas mari alai. Don't be upset with me. Begin to haveli orchin yomidain. I had visitors that day. The amris the loy lizvu biyikra demari yomidain, and I didn't want them to make fun of you. Meaning you're blind, so you don't, you have food, it's a mess or whatever. I didn't want anybody to make fun of you, so I didn't come to eat with you, so that they wouldn't come to eat with you as well. Begin kain loy achalt im mari yomidain. That's the reason that I didn't come to eat with you. Amarle says to him, Ata pais paisasa laman de mischame veloy chame, den de chame veloy mischayim veloy mischamim yekabel piusach. Says you were kind to a person that is seen but doesn't see. May the one who sees and isn't seen keep accept that which you are appeasing. Meaning, you were kind to me because I'm blind. The one that is the opposite, meaning HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is not able to be seen, meaning nobody sees him, but he sees everything, he should be mekabel for me. So Amarle says to him, Rabbi Shai says to him, Hadaman alach, where did you learn such a chashuv understanding of the world? Amarle says, "Mi Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov." I learned from Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, al chad de saginar likras. Once a blind person came to meet him. Yoiv le Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov le ra mine. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov went to sit. He sat beneath him, meaning during the Suda, whatever it was, he didn't sit next to him or above him. He sat in a way that made it very clear that this blind man was chashuv. The Yimrun, so the people would say, De ilule dehava bar nasha rabba. If this blind man was not such a great person, lo Yosef le Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov le Rabbinai, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov would for sure not have sat in a worse position than him. He wouldn't have sat beneath him. So Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov used his clout to give this person more cover. So other than parnasa dikar, and then they started taking really good care of this blind person. Amarla, so he said to them, Mao heichin, why are you doing this for me? All of a sudden, you're all taking care of me. Amrullah, they said to him, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, Yasad Raminach, because Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov sat in such a way that he was honoring you. And this blind person then said a tefillah for Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. You did chesed for a person that is seen but cannot see. Then the one who cannot be seen but sees everything should give chesed to you. So that is what was told to Rabbi Shaya was the origin of this way of thinking about the world. Says the Gemara, three lines from the bottom of Tes Vav and Aleph. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina Rabbi Shaya they were going for a tiyul. They were visiting the shuls around the area of Lod. How much money was invested in all of these shuls here? Whoa, look at all of this. He said to him, how many lives were sunk here? Meaning the Korban Eidah says that he was saying big deal that so much money was poured into the buildings, but how many lives were lost here? Why? Because money was spent on buildings and not sustaining people. People weren't able to learn Torah. They weren't able to learn Torah because the money went to capital expenses instead of sustaining Talmud Torah. So big deal that there's pretty shuls. If people are not able to learn, that does not help. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Avon Avid in Tare. Rabbi Avon gave money to make fancy gates. Turning over to Tes Avon base to make fancy gates. The Sad Rabbah for the big base medrash. The Korban says Hapsachim shal base medrash hagadol. He made fancy gates for the new base medrash. Also, Rabbi Mana came to him. Amarle, so he said, "Chami my do you see what I've done?" He says, "Look at my amazing building project." Amarle, so he says, "V'yishkach Yisrael es v'yivin heichalos." This is what the pasuk says in Hosea. The Jewish people forgot HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and instead they built buildings, they built sanctuaries, they built temples. And there was nobody left to be able to learn because all the money went to build buildings and not to support Torah. Tani, the Gemara then taught. This is back to halacha for a moment. Tani, we taught Brisa, going back to donating things to the Beis Hamikdash. That the Kodesh HaMizbeach, those things that were dedicated to the Mizbeach, meaning they were dedicated to be used on the Mizbeach, they took from them the things that were needed for Bedek HaBayis. And that's a very strange thing to say. It sounds like what the Brisa is telling you is that certain things were donated to the Mizbeach, and if they couldn't be used for the Mizbeach, then they were used for Bedek HaBayis. Says the Gemara, hold on a second. In Kodesh Bedek HaBayis Metzin as Haroi Lahem Mikodesh Mizbeach. You cannot use something for in Kodesh Bedek HaBayis Metzin as Haroi Lahem Mikodesh Mizbeach if they were not needed. Sorry, this is still the Brisa, not the question. In Kodesh Bedek HaBayis, if there were no Bedek HaBayis things, meaning there was nothing available for Bedek HaBayis, then take from the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, this is the challenge. And didn't we learn anything that was given to Bedek HaBayis has to be left for Bedek HaBayis, and the rest the rest of them are sold, and the rest that end up being used for Bedek HaBayis. Meaning, how can you downgrade something from Mizbeach to Bedek HaBayis? You can always upgrade from Bedek HaBayis to Mizbeach, but you can't do the opposite. Says Rabbi Chizkiah, Kini Masnisin. I mean, this is the way to read the Mishnah. It means Lelishka space Bedek HaBayis. Meaning, when people would donate things to Lelishka Bedek HaBayis, the Mishnah says they would give the kelim to Lishkas Bedek HaBayis. Anything that could be used from there for the Mizbeach was used for the Mizbeach, and the rest went back to Bedek HaBayis. Meaning, it was all Bedek HaBayis some of it was upgraded to Mizbech, and some of it was left as Berek Habayis. And Hanur Halach Perik Elu Hein Ha Memonim. These are this is the end of the fifth parak. The sixth parak begins with Shlosha Asal Shofaris, that there are 13 shofaris, which was collection receptacles in the Beis Hamikdash, and Shlosha Asal Shulchanos. There were 13 tables. These we're going to discuss what these tables are later. And then Shlosha Esrei Shtachavos Hayu B'Mikdash, and there were 13 places that you would bow down in the Beis Hamikdash. Shall Beis Aaron Gamliel v'Shal Beis Rabbi Chaninus Kanan Kahanim Ham Nishtachim Ba'arba Esrei. And there were two mishpachas that would have a 14th place that they bowed down. Ve'Heichan Haisa, where was this 14th place? Ve'Heichan Haisa Yisera, where was the 14th place? Keneged Dir Ha'itim. It was by the wood chamber. Shekin Maseches b'Yadon me'Avisin, because they have an ancient tradition from their ancestors. Shesham ha'aron ganos, that is where the Aron Abris is hidden, or at least the opening for it. And that is the story that the Gemara that the Mishnah is going to tell. There was a story about one kohen shayim misasek, that he was busy the Beis Hamikdash. V'ra es haritzpa shayim mishur mechavresa, and he saw one floor tile that was different from all the other floor tiles. Bav Amar Lechaver, he came, told his friend, Lo hispik ligmares hadavar ad sheyatz nishmasa, and he wasn't able to finish his sentence until his soul had left his body. I mean, he died before revealing it, or he died in revealing it. Either way, v'yadu beyichud sham Aron ganos, and now they knew that that's where the Aron was. Meaning, did he reveal where it was, or did he not reveal where it was? Either which way, by the fact that his soul left, they knew that it was in that vicinity. Says the Gemara Tani, the Brisa says as follows: Hashofaros halalu akumas hayu. Those shofaros, those collection shofars, were skewed. Tsaros milamalan, they were narrow at the top, v'rechavos milamata, and wide at the bottom. If now because of the cheats, because you wanted to make sure that nobody could, put it in a 10 and take it a 20. Tani b'shem Rabbi Lazar, says Rabbi Lazar, ha'aron gala imam lebavel. Hold on. The Mishnah says that the Aron is buried under the Beis Hamikdash, but they said in the name of Rabbi Eliezer that the Aron was exiled with the Jewish people after the first destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. The first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed by the Babylonians, and the Aron went to Bavel with them. Says the Gemara, my time. What's the reason? How do you know this? Pasuk says, Lo yoser davar lo yoser. Lo yivaser davar amar Hashem. This is the pasuk in Yeshayahu, that nothing will be said, says Hashem. What does it mean? In davar, there's no davar, elashe hadibros le soichai. This davar is the thing that the dibros are in. Meaning, when the pasuk says lo yivaser davar amar Hashem, the thing that's called the davar is the thing that holds the dibros, that will no longer be left in Yerushalayim. V'cheinu omer, and this is what the pasuk says: Ula tshuvas hashana shalach hamelach Nebuchadnezzar ve'yivieu bavela im kli chemdas beis Hashem. The pasuk in Divrei Yamim, that at the end of a particular year, Nebuchadnezzar sent, and they brought with him to Bavel all of the precious things from the house of Hashem. What is the most precious thing in the house of Hashem? That means the Aron. The Aron ended up in Bavel. Says the Gemara, no, the Aron was not taken to Bavel. It was buried in Yerushalayim. It was hidden under Harabais. Hadahu Dechsiv, this pasuk says, "Ve'aricho habadim ve'yiru rosha habadim el hakodesh el penei hadvir ve'lo yiru hachutza." The pasuk says in Malachim that the poles stuck out, meaning the poles of the Aron stuck out, el penei hadvir ve'lo yiru hachutza, and they wouldn't be seen from the outside. The pasuk says, "Ve'yiru." Just dealing with this pasuk, the pasuk says vayiru, and they were seen, but they were not seen from the outside. What does it mean? Va'at amart v'lo yiru. Were they seen? Were they not seen? Ella nir v'lo nir. They were seen and not seen. Both of them, they stuck out like breasts behind the curtain, meaning you couldn't actually see them, but you could see the imprint behind the parachas. V'Rabbanan Amri, and the Rabbanan say belishkas dir ha'itzim haya Aron ganos, that the Rabbanan said that the Aron was buried in the Lishkas Dira Eitzim. and they were buried under, like the Mishnah says, by this wood chamber. And then the Gemara tells another story. There was a certain kohen, there was a balmum, he was blemished, so he couldn't do the avoda. What could he do? But he could chop the wood, he could split the logs to be used for the mizbech. And he saw that there was a piece of the floor that was not the same. It was a little bit different. He went to say to his friend, look, take a look. Come and see this floorboard. This is different. And he, once again, was not able to finish what he was saying until his soul left his body. And then they knew that for sure that was where the Aaron was buried. Now, all of this is the second Beis Hamikdash. It says the Gemara, Tani Mishum, or Tani Rabbi Yoshaya, Hikish Allah, what exactly was the story? That this kohen, what happened to him? That he hit it with a hammer and fire came out and burnt him. That's how he died. So we have all of these traditions that somewhere or another underneath the Beis Hamikdash is the Aaron. Tani says the Brisa as follows: Rabbi Yehuda, it seems Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, or Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish Amar. Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish says, "Beis Aaron is hayu mahalchim." This is a big discussion. How many Aarons were there? Says Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish that there were two Aarons that accompanied the Jewish people in the Midbar. One that the Torah was in, another one that had the shattered luchas, the broken luchas. There were two Aarons, one for the luchas, one for the shivri luchas. The one that had the Torah, meaning the luchas in it, and the Torah, or scrolls of Moshe Rabbeinu, maybe. That was put in the oil mine. This is what the pasuk says: for Aaron bris Hashem u Moshe loy Moshe me'gerem machana, that the Aaron of Hashem and Moshe did not leave the camp. That which the broken luchas were inside, would go out to war with him. And sometimes it was seen with the Jewish people. The Rabbanan say, no, Aaron echad. There was only one Aaron. And it only once went out with the Jewish people during the days of Eli, and it was captured. And tomorrow we will continue with supports in the Psukim for both the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan. And looking forward to continuing then. Have yourselves a beautiful day.